Today, I'm going to be unboxing and giving a preliminary review of the 55-inch Samsung Q60A. So smack like on this video because we're getting to the point right now. This year, Samsung has a going green approach where the packaging features less ink and paper than in years prior. Now, this feels more like a cost-cutting stunt to me, but it is something that Samsung is mentioning as a going green thing that they're doing. So, I'll digress. The box still does use straps to secure itself, making it less secure than using tape in a very traditional sense. Now, I lost one of the two straps while in transit, but fortunately, the packaging was sturdy enough to keep it safe, so it really wasn't a problem in the end. Now, you'll locate all the accessories at the top of the box, so you can find everything you need there. Essentially, the legs that you get with the TV and the accessory bag are basically it. Now, the legs are extremely cheap. They're like very cheap plastic, but at least they don't require screws, which is very nice. You do get the solar remote found on the QN90A though, and that was a very nice surprise because I didn't see that coming at all. I thought that, they were probably going to give us some step down, super cheap remote like they usually do on 6 Series TVs. So it's really nice to see you retaining that feature from a higher end tier of television. Now, you also, which was a good surprise, because it's the solar remote, have the same form factor as the premium metal remote found in years prior. I can't stress that this is something found on their QN90A and their QN85A. Like, these are their premium Neo QLEDs, and you're still getting that across the board. So again, that's a really nice touch. You also have a detachable power cable. So that's very fortunate for people who don't like built-in wires like myself, because if anything ever happens, you can just replace the cable and not the TV itself. Again, something they usually don't do on entry-level TVs, but it's nice to see that happen here. Unfortunately, there is no indication of HDMI 2.1, so there are no labels really showing you if it is HDMI 2.1 or not, and worse yet, there are only engravings which are almost impossible to read in a dark room, just like on the Neo QLED line. So unfortunately, that's trickling down as well from, the top ends even down to the lower end TVs. Now, unfortunately, you only have 3 HDMI ports. You don't get the same kind of experience you're going to get on the step-up models with having 4. So, I don't know what the logic behind taking away an HDMI port is, but that's something Samsung is doing this year. You do, however, get the same backing and cord management found on the more expensive TVs, so that's not something you have to worry about this year. And the power cord can be fit to a very small group of people. Your hands will probably be very cramped, to say the least, because of the positioning and the way that it falls. It's not very good for big fingers. So just keep that in mind. Either way, it is easy to install nonetheless. So, food for thought there. Now, when we're talking about the legs are very easy. The legs simply slide on with almost zero tension, making this the easiest stand assembly on the market today. Now, honestly, me being me, I find that to be a really nice touch because I hate fiddling with screws and all that, and so this is an awesome touch from Samsung. The reflection handling, on the other hand, is pretty bad. This thing is pretty much a matte finished mirror. And I don't even know how that's possible, but it definitely is no expert when you're talking about getting the reflections down and mitigating that to a, lesser point. So that's one of the big things you're going to notice with it being an entry-level TV that you are going to find, at least in entry-level QLED. Now, when you turn this thing on for the first time, it says Samsung QLED, and you may or may not notice black uniformity issues depending on your panel. But the big thing is there is no local dimming, so you'll probably notice some local dimming issues. There'll be a spindle wheel that'll pop up and greet you, and then you'll be asked how you prefer to set up the TV. You may need to pair this, by the way, by pressing and holding the back and play button together until pairing is complete, like I had to do. But again, your remote might come just fine paired up, so it just depends on you. Now, I decided to use the retail mode to get up and running with the retail demo, but it has no bearing on the TV or anything like that, so it won't change the test results or anything later on. But you can choose either or. Most people would want to start off, obviously, in the home mode, but I had special needs here. So Samsung's setup approach across the board is pretty universal on all their QLEDs this year. I'm sure you could probably see that theme. It's exactly the same user interface as well for the most part. There is also no signal. Like when there's no signal, you're going to have the same source settings as you had in years prior, like dating back to 2016. I think the biggest point being that essentially this is more or less the same Samsung you've seen. So picture modes are vastly unchanged. You'll find everything you've basically been able to find in really any Samsung Tizen TV up until this point. It's basically a copy and paste job through and through. The UI and everything you've seen, if you've owned a modern Samsung, I mean, the learning curve is virtually non-existent. So you shouldn't have any problems either way. But the biggest thing that I really like is that there's no forced terms of service like you'll find on Sony's TVs. So if you were weighing up maybe between this or the Sony X80J or something similar to that, you don't have to be forced into anything. It's truly a plug and play experience, which, again, very, very nice. Now, surprisingly, you do get the new game bar, which acts as an information hub for gamers to see things like VRR and other game specs, which is really cool to see that again on their entry-level QLED this year. Now, picture quality out of the box is pretty hazy and bad. Some colors are like very vibrant, crazy vibrant even, but others will look extremely washed out. So you will have to unfortunately calibrate this or need to know how to dial in those settings yourself. I'll have some pro settings available exclusively for channel members, so definitely join and snag those if you want to get the most out of your Q60A. Otherwise, you're definitely going to have to hire a professional calibrator or learn how to dial it in yourself to get a solid picture anyway, because out of the box, it definitely needs some work. Now, as far as my first impressions and initial review of this, I think it definitely has a place in the budget market for sure. It gets pretty bright for a budget TV. It really did surprise me in some areas. I expected it to be a lot dimmer than this. Also, the colors are something that I found to be extremely vibrant when you juice them up and you crank the vibrancy. You can get vibrant color. That is really surprising. I found almost the same level of saturation on something like the Samsung QN90A. So it's pretty impressive to see this budget TV keep up with the level of vibrancy. Motion is also not bad from what I've seen so far. So, I mean, it's definitely better than the $3,000 Sony A90J I reviewed, where there was judder literally all over the place no matter what I did. But again, that's worth noting when we're talking about this budget price point versus not spending the premium that I spent on that TV. I think I have to test it more, obviously, to find out the nitty gritty of everything. And I'll work on it to see if it can become more, but so far it's just an average TV. But I'll definitely keep you guys posted, so if you're interested, definitely let me know what you want to see in the comments down below. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. Until the next video, I'll see you guys later.